It's The Local Show on News Radio 570 WSYR, a service of Geddes Federal Savings and Loan and Safe Harbor Wills and Trusts. The Local Show, featuring conversations with business owners, employees, and local business leaders about their successes, challenges, and reasons for doing business right here in Central New York. The Local Show is locally produced by Zoey Advertising. Now, your hosts, Tom and Steve.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to The Local Show. It's the 2023 Easter edition of The Local Show. I'm your host, Tom Soccocio Jr., along with my good friend and co-host, Steve Roberts. On The Local Show, we feature conversations about local businesses, and we talk with their owners. We talk with some CEOs as well, CFOs, entrepreneurs, nonprofits, business advocates, and basically anyone who'll speak with us. We learn about how they got into business and why they do business right here in Syracuse, New York, and where their businesses might be going in the future. You will hear all about their successes, their challenges, opportunities, marketing, and advertising. We're broadcasting from the Zoey Advertising Studios, sponsored by Safe Harbor Wills and Trusts and Geddes Federal Savings and Loan. Happy Easter to Steve Roberts. Easter weekend.
Happy Easter, Tom. Anyone that will speak to us, I don't know. You know, our next guest, John Copeland from Smith, I think he thinks he's special, and you just said, I will talk to anybody. So I don't know. I'm just saying.
Yeah, he's one. I like John.
And anyone. Just anyone.
I don't know.
Anybody off the street type thing? Yeah. Okay.
Up next, anyone.
Yeah, you know, I like to make it fun. I'd like to see some fresh blood. So if anybody wants to get involved with the show who actually has money and wherewithal to spend with Zoey Advertising, when we make the call, you know, come on.
Yeah. Well,
some new and interesting people.
Yeah. We just was speaking with a friend this last week. They said, wow, you had a lot of different people on all the time. And you know what? We do. We repurpose John Copeland once a month, but...
Well, let me tell you who we're going to repurpose today.
All right, go ahead.
John Kupperman, of course, from Smith Restaurant Supply. Then Sheila Ostrom, who's the owner of Senior Home Care and Alzheimer's Solutions. Mike Cervello. We haven't had Mike Cervello on for a while.
A long time.
But he's like the senior pastor
yes.
at Redeemer Church. And, of course, you know, being Easter weekend and all, we'll talk with him. Jimmer Sikowski stops by, franchise owner and operator of Chick-fil-A in Cicero and Clay. And then Dr. Nicole Anzalone, owner of Syracuse Hearing Solutions. John Murphy, owner of Safe Harbor Wills and Trusts. And then Dave Martin. Now, he's new to the show, so I'm interested to talk with him. He's a builder and the owner of Martin Custom Homes. And I've walked through quite a few of their homes. They look pretty good. So they'll all be on the local show today. Right now, John, how are you, buddy?
Very fine, thanks.
Good. Owner of Smith Restaurant Supply. And, what sets Smith Restaurant Supply apart from other similar business? What's unique about you guys?
One of the most unique things is that we do both commercial and household kitchen items. And, of course, we do coffee roasting. And one thing we don't talk about a lot is we also have a vintage china and glassware area of the store as well.
What does that mean, vintage?
Old
stuff. Good. Well, there's
like you, Tom.
In particular,
Yes.
Syracuse china and Iroquois china. And,
okay.
And it's kind of a hobby that I got into a few years ago. And it occupies about 1,000 square foot of the store. And people love poking through it.
Well, I have to do that. I like that older stuff.
Yeah, every weekend I go out to estate sales, typically in either Albany or Rochester with my girlfriend.
You know what? I should
And
let you check out some.
Yeah, we
own.
Go to anywhere from half a dozen to a dozen estate sales on Saturdays. We really kind of do it quickly.
Do you encourage people to, if they have some stuff at home, would you look at it?
I do. I don't want people like bringing it to the store, but
because I already have it loaded up in my mind.
Right, that's exactly what happens. I have people send me photos and a brief description by email, and then if I have an interest, I'll make an offer on it.
Very interesting, because my father's aunt used to work at Syracuse China. She did all the painting, hand painting around the outside. She was from Italy.
Sure.
Isn't that something?
Oh my gosh.
I mean, the whole community.
They employed a lot of people, didn't they?
Thousands, and so everybody has a relative or knew somebody that worked at the factory.
Is it true that everyone worked there's name and in vowel? Or that was Nettleton. That was Learberry's, right?
Yes, yeah.
That was Learberry's, my old landlady, and right?
Well, I would say that anyone who came from Europe had a skill like that. That was the difference. They were craftsmen in some way, shape, or form. Do you think it takes a holiday like Easter to make people review their kitchen supplies and say, man, we need new knives and new can openers?
That does happen. I mean, this is Passover and Easter, and people do gather for family get-togethers, and you take stock of what's in your kitchen, and they're like, oh.
And they're cutting the ham with a butter knife.
Right.
That's because they don't have the knives that I bought.
After this weekend, we will be sharpening lots of knives.
So you do knife sharpening, but I hate to admit that John was right, Tom, but I bought the 4-knife kit. You don't use more than
3-4 knives.
And I haven't used a bread knife yet.
Okay, sure.
Okay, because
you haven't had bread.
I haven't. Well,
haven't had unsliced.
It's amazing. It comes sliced these days.
It's amazing.
But it's there, and the thing I like about it the most that surprised me was the board that it sits on, because it's right there. It's not stuffed in a drawer. It's not hidden with these other knife blocks. You pull it out, and you're like, which one's this? Whoop, not that one. Whoop, and you kind of lose sight of it. But you can see what you want. I was using them this week. I use them every day, actually.
Great. And sitting out, you got to keep them clean.
Right.
And that type of a magnetic board, it's clean. You can wipe it down, unlike blocks.
I haven't educated my wife not to shove it in the dishwasher yet. But the good news is she doesn't listen to the show. She doesn't listen to the show, so she won't know I'm talking about it.
Well, if you put them in the dishwasher, you're going to be using that sharpener. The
sharpener's like $20. I mean, it wasn't like, it's made for a knife like that, right?
And it's foolproof too.
Yeah. But if somebody has a box full of knives, you can sharpen those.
Yes. Yep. Bring them in.
Do they stay sharp for a little while after the sharpening?
It depends on how you care for them.
Yeah.
And it depends also on the quality of the knife. You know, if you spend $5 on a knife at, Walmart, we're not going to go too far with it. But typically a decent knife will stay sharp for 6 months.
Oh, okay.
Especially if you maintain it on your own. Yeah. With like a sharpening steel or a honing item.
Gotcha. How do you stay up to date on the latest trends in housewares and kitchenwares?
One thing that I do is I pay attention what the customers are asking.
Oh, okay, yes.
And typically, if I get 2-3 requests, I start looking into carrying that item. That's one way. There's trade journals, but most often it's customers. Because, all of a sudden somebody will come in and they're looking for a particular widget, and I'll ask them what's going on. And almost invariably somebody had it on TV or was using it and talked about it. And I was like, oh, okay, here we go. Next trend. Got to get this in.
Seen only on TV.
We get that all the time too. And some of that stuff is hype. Should stay on TV.
All right. Boy, they do a good job of hyping it. Like composters, kitchen composters. Like I'm looking at the one that says, hey, you take all your dirty crap from your plates and it'll make beautiful earth and you can grow your plants in it. I just don't believe it.
I don't carry that type of, but I would think that there'd be a bit of an odor. They have filters in the lids, but So
spring is springing. Are more people drinking your Hyman Smith coffee? I'm drinking some right now. Is that a winter thing?
No, it's a year-round thing.
Okay.
Syracuse is the highest per capita coffee drinking city in the country. Even more than Seattle.
It wouldn't surprise me.
We drink more coffee than anybody else.
We're so depressed. There's no sunshine. There's light. You need something to jack you up.
Something get you going, it's a year-round thing. I would say maybe in July it dips a bit.
Yeah, when it gets real hot.
But people switch to iced coffee.
So in case anybody was confused, on Erie Boulevard, across from Texas Roadhouse, not the big Smith sign downtown. That's not it. You go 3 miles onto the boulevard, across from Texas Roadhouse. And if you haven't had the coffee's awesome.
It is awesome.
Yeah, so there's a nice smell to the place.
Yep.
And not a compost smell.
No.
That's good. Check it out.
It's a wonderful smell.
And John's usually floating around, so make sure you ask for him by name, and he'll give you a tour, maybe some of that fine china.
Absolutely.
That'd be kind of cool. Thank you, John. You have a great rest of the day, okay?
Thank you.
All right. Coming up next, Sheila Ostrom, the owner of Senior Home Care and Alzheimer's Solutions, right here on the local show on 570 WSYR.
Welcome back to The Local Show, a service of Geddes Federal Savings and Loan and Safe Harbor Wills and Trusts. The Local Show, featuring conversations with business owners, employees, and local business leaders about their successes, challenges, and reasons for doing business right here in Central New York. The Local Show, locally produced by Zoey Advertising. Now, here are your hosts, Tom and Steve.
Back into it and back at it again. Happy Easter weekend to you and yours, and we're happy that you're spending a little time with Steve and I. You're tuned into The Local Show right here on 570 WSYR. If you're on the FM dial, it's 106.9 FM, and then, of course, on YouTube, you can peek under the hood and see behind the scenes of what we all look like and what the guests look like and all that. So we encourage you to like and subscribe to that Zoey Advertising channel, and then you'll get the alerts.
Yeah, it just happened. John Kupperman just at the break was saying, hey, people have been watching us on YouTube.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
And that's a good thing. So go see it if you want to.
Grab that content. Speaking of content, there's a lot of good local content over at Geddes Federal Savings and Loan. Tell us a little bit about what's going on over there.
Well, you know who closed down their house this week, Tom?
Brad over here.
Brad over here. Great. Yes, and he got it at Geddes and went through the process, and he was amazing because he did have a lot of questions.
Sure.
And he felt he didn't know. Who knows how to do that stuff unless you've done that stuff?
Yeah.
But the people walked him through it over there at Geddes. He got a great rate. He was excited about, and so he's all buzzing about his house. But it's spring is springing. If you're looking to get a mortgage, absolutely talk to the folks at Geddes. I mean, they have great rates, and they're local people here you can talk to. Or maybe, Tom, you want to put that pool in and borrow off your house.
That's right. The HELOCs.
Yeah, the HELOCs, sure. You can do that too. So get it at Geddes, GeddesFederalSavingsAndLoan.com, Tom.
Great. I'm going to have you take your microphone and put it more in front of your lips rather than your nose. You're kind of
look at that. Okay,
you're nosing, yes.
Well, there.
So it sounds like you're talking.
Do you want me to keep talking again, Tom?
Trumpet? No, yeah. I'd rather you not talk at all.
I can do it all over again and talk more.
You're fine. Yes, there we go. Sheila Ostrom knows how to use that microphone.
Yes, I do.
She doesn't need one. Who are we kidding?
Sheila owns Senior Home Care and Alzheimer's Solutions. How are you?
Good. Happy spring.
Yeah, happy spring. Goodness gracious. That's I think things will get better rapidly. Everybody thinks it's better on the other side of anything, like the grass is always greener. Mm-hmm. But my buddy James was out in California for it had to be the past month. He just got back, and he was in a jacket. He's on the beach with a jacket on, and it was cold in a lot of the areas. Of course, then it got a lot warmer, but it just goes to show.
Was he on vacation?
He went on vacation
to California. People still do that because the last place I'm going to go is California.
Well, his stepdaughter lives there.
Oh, he's got family. That's
he's got some family there, and they stayed with the family and went over. He actually went to a game. It was kind of cool. He showed me pictures of the stadium, Dodger Stadium, and everything in LA.
Now that would be all right.
Yeah, that's kind of cool to see some of the iconic.
Did he participate in any riots or anything? Or did
no. We both talked about that. I said, be careful. He was showing me the one beach. He said, I'm showing you the good parts of the beach. We had to, walk over the homeless and the needles and the
It's so sad.
That's terrible. Anyway, hey, Sheila, give listeners a quick background so they know, who you are and why you started this business.
Sure. I'm Sheila Ostrom. I'm the owner of Senior Home Care and Alzheimer's Solutions. We help people stay in their homes as long as possible and provide care for people who just need a little bit, someone to make a meal a couple of times a week or someone to take them out because they don't want to drive downtown anymore.
Yeah. I like that now.
Yeah, some people don't like to drive downtown, but it's not difficult. Yeah. You just have to still know how to parallel park or have one of those auto cars that does it for you.
Right.
But we help a lot of different seniors, seniors in the home with dementia and seniors without dementia. We do a little bit of everything.
Yeah, that's interesting you mentioned that because one of the questions I had for you is, I know that your caregivers have to develop strong relationships with the clients and despite the challenges of cognitive decline and all that. Do you have any special strategies for that?
We do. All of our employees are trained in the positive approach to care. A woman named Teepa Snow. Actually, a lot of people know her name now because she's the one that Bruce Willis's wife called on to help.
No kidding.
Yeah. So we do that training for all of our employees.
Well,
and
that just goes to show you never know.
You
Bruce
don't.
Willis,
I know.
action star. My father, absolutely loves Bruce with Die Hard and Die Hard 2 and everything. And here was this virile guy, and now, he's been stricken.
and unfortunately, sometimes it takes more celebrity
to bring the awareness,
to bring more awareness.
And speaking of awareness, you got there's some special thing coming up here, and May is like senior month,
so I know we're still in April, but when everything starts to happen in April and May when we come out of our snow winter, which
slumber.
we didn't have that much, but May is always senior month, so you're going to see a lot of things going on for seniors all over the area. And one of the ones that I'm involved in is the CNY Senior Housing and Care Expo.
Okay.
Yep, and that's going to be held at the regional market in the E-Shed, and that's going to be on Wednesday, May 31st. And we did this. It's hosted by Community Living Advocates, CLA for short, and it's a group that started by Nancy Orelli because she's so passionate about seniors and everything about seniors: exercise, living, food, housing, health.
Who is she?
Healthcare.
Does she work for the organization, or is
She
she?
started the organization.
Oh, she started it.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
She started it. Yeah, that she started as kind of a part-time thing because her passion is seniors, and she also has a big passion for end of life, and she knows a lot of people don't prepare for end of life well, and she's a nurse by trade.
So what
Okay,
happens?
gotcha.
What happens at the expo?
So this expo, so, there are a lot of senior fairs at different senior centers and things in May, but this expo is just wonderful because it really brings people outside. She always has live music, lots of giveaways, some really fun interactive booths.
Nice.
And helps seniors, starting with younger seniors.
Yeah, I was
all the
gonna
way
ask
up
you-
to older seniors.
You use that term, senior. When does that begin?
55 is officially senior. I know.
Hey, Tom.
There's no way I'm escaping it.
Yeah.
Yep, there we go.
I don't think a lot of people consider themselves really a senior till they hit 65.
So I'm not too proud to order off the senior menu.
Yeah, no.
I am.
I am not.
Steve's been ordering the senior meal from 50.
I am not. It's a smaller portion, right? Usually costs a little less, and I don't, overeat. So I'm not too proud to do that.
Okay.
Okay, well, that's Steve. I have not yet offered
Right.
ordered off that 50 plus menu.
No.
Yep. Are you looking for help?
Oh, we're always looking for help.
Sure.
Tell us the kind of help
Yes.
you're looking for.
We're looking for people who want to help out a senior, cook a meal, remind them to take their meds, take them to the grocery store.
Take a walk down the canal path with them,
Yep.
right?
And we're getting outside more and more.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
nice. Good. Anything else that you wanted to cover about your business and what's going on?
So the
before
business as a whole, care is, it's really hard to find caregivers right now. So people that need care, don't wait till you're in crisis. Try to start, having someone come in and see your senior once a week.
Right.
At least initially, so that you are, locked in with a company who can hopefully continue on with you.
Tell us about that weekly call where people can get support with folks that have dementia. That
Sure. We have a support group that we do every Tuesday, and you can find more information about the call on our website at syracusesenior.com. And we support anyone who wants to join. We have people join from all over. People who are caring for a loved one, or people who are, friends of a loved one who have any type of dementia. We help do a support group with people, and it's just wonderful. The camaraderie
there's
on
no
there is
fee for
amazing.
that, right?
No, it's
Yeah, that's
free.
good.
There we go, Tom.
Well, folks, you probably had a bunch of people over this weekend, and, now's the time to reach out to Sheila, see if she can help you out. 469-1000, 469-1000, real easy, syracusesenior.com. Thank you, and you have a great rest of the day, okay?
Thanks, you too.
All right. Coming up next, we're going to talk with Mike Cervello. He's the senior pastor at Redeemer Church right here on The Local Show on 570 WSYR. Stick around.
Welcome back to The Local Show, a service of Gettys Federal Savings and Loan and Safe Harbor Wills and Trusts. The Local Show, featuring conversations with business owners, employees, and local business leaders about their successes, challenges, and reasons for doing business right here in Central New York. The Local Show, locally produced by Zoey Advertising. Now, here are your hosts, Tom and Steve.
And here we go, ladies and gentlemen, back into it and back at it again with Tom and Steve on this Easter weekend. It's The Local Show. Thank you for carving out a little time and spending it with us. We have some great people that we're going to be talking with for the next, couple of hours or so.
So, Tom,
yeah.
when you were a kid, did your parents set up the whole Easter egg hunt thing? Was that part of it, or was it not so much?
Not at all. We'd go to church. My mother cooked. Come from a real Italian family, so cooking was everything.
Right.
So my grandmother would start cracking the whip probably 2 days in advance for my mother. She'd be stressed out. Church was her only time to decompress and then come back and finish. Making.
Did any of them make regatta pie?
Oh yeah, the regatta.
I never knew what that was.
Yeah, regatta pie. Is,
and there's this pie you need to try. It's like cheese. It's like cheese. And oh my goodness, my mother-in-law's recipe.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! I've never experienced a happier moment than a real cold glass of milk
and the regatta
pie.
And they would make that, and then she would take the leftover regatta and make the cannolis with it, of course. So you get off.
So the Italian, when we lived on Oak Street, first married, 87, had an upper flat. Our landlady was Italian.
Sure.
Very Italian. Pietro Feza manufacturing clothes.
Oh, yeah.
But she was like, and you couldn't understand most of what she said. I knew she was a legitimate Italian because she had a kitchen in the basement. So I knew that wasn't a fraud. That makes you legit. And there was always dead things hanging down there, drying out. But she brought us lamb on Easter.
Very nice.
She's like, and it was amazing. But good memories.
My mother used to buy me a kite. Every year I would get a kite with an Easter basket.
How much fun is that?
And that was kind of fun to fly the kite because, of course, it was the windy season and all that.
We would do the eggs, but we were always looking for the ones that would be like some dimes or a quarter in it.
Oh, yeah.
And you'd shake it, and you get candy, but those were the best ones.
Yeah, a little money in there. Right now, we're going to talk about the real meaning of Easter with Mike Cervello. He is the senior pastor at Redeemer Church, myredeemerchurch.com, and you can put in a /Syracuse and find that Syracuse campus. How are you there?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on today. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. And you know what? He's different than Josh. Josh says that he runs the whole shebang. I didn't, now all of a sudden here's Mike.
The term was Cervello's the big shot. I think that was the thing. So, So are you guys cousins? I'm just imagining. You must be somewhere.
I don't know. We're all related if we're Italian.
Are you from the area? Were you from Utica?
I was born and raised in Herkimer.
Oh, in Herkimer. Okay, gotcha.
But it was always concerning. My relatives would say to me, I'd go make a friend somewhere, and that's your cousin. That's your cousin. I thought I better not marry any local girls around here.
That's right.
It's a true story.
I did all my early radio career all over there, and I was in Rome too for a while. But beautiful countryside. You know what I mean? It's just we live in a very nice area. What led you to become a pastor, and how did your personal faith journey lead you into that and help?
Yeah, I think if someone were to look from the outside in, they'd probably assume that I became a pastor because my father was a pastor.
Oh, okay.
But that's not the case.
All right.
When I was 14 years old, I picked up the Bible and began to read it for myself. Okay. And the reason why that's so interesting is growing up in a pastor's home, who had a father that was really devout, who taught the Bible to us as kids, who sent me to a Christian school, who did a very good job in the church of having what we'd call catechism for kids in Sunday school. I was, required to memorize scripture verses and things like that.
Wow.
Nothing bad. Just, you memorize this, you get a treat or you get like some type of reward. But when I was 14 years old, I started kind of going through a crisis of faith. I really began to think about if I died, where would I go? And the interesting thing about that is that my father was not a hellfire and brimstone preacher. Wasn't talking about things like the rapture and stuff week to week. There was just this overwhelming sense that I knew that if I stood before a holy God, I wouldn't be able to stand. And I had never done anything bad, that the world would consider bad, or Christians would even consider bad.
You're just a preacher's kid.
I was just a preacher's kid. But I picked up the Bible, and for the very first time, I read it for myself, not because it was an assignment, not because I was going to get a treat of some kind. And somewhere, through the Gospels, I think it was in the Gospel of Matthew, it was like blinders fell off my eyes and I saw Jesus like for the first time. It's kind of weird to say that because I grew up with Jesus, you know what I mean? And from that point on, I just became passionate about him and eventually knew I wanted to dedicate my whole life to serving him. Yeah. in a full-time capacity.
Were you in a non-denominational type church, evangelical back then, or was it Catholic or anything?
No, my family, I'm Italian. Yes. I've been joking around about that.
Right.
We grew up Catholic. In the 1970s, my grandmother became the very first Protestant.
Okay.
And the way she became a Protestant was our family went through a real crisis. And that's a long story. But through that, there was a Pentecostal minister in Herkimer, a young guy, not more than 24 years old, that went and knocked on my grandmother's door. Because you can imagine in Herkimer, not everybody knows everybody.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
Yeah, that's
and what happened is that my dad's sister was having some pretty severe problems. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah.
And the pastor went and knocked on the door and just said, "Can I pray for your daughter?" And it was a pretty hopeless situation. Again, I can't give all the details just for the sake of time.
Sure.
Not because they're private or anything. And what was almost an impossibility, what doctors and things were saying, there was no hope. The minute he prayed for her, within 6 weeks, everything went back to normal.
Wow.
And this obviously got my grandmother's attention.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
And so she started going to church and she wound up becoming a Protestant believer. And this led to pretty much a revival in my family and pretty much the birth of our church. So, yeah, that's the short story.
Yeah. So your father was in Redeemer before you were at Redeemer.
Yes.
So this was a homegrown church out of Utica?
Yeah. Well, it started in Herkimer originally.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, and I'm still new to that because I grew up, Catholic. So, of course, Catholic churches are not done that way. They don't just blossom up like that.
Right.
So that's interesting. So what is, you have a campus out there. You call them campuses.
Yep.
How many Redeemers are there in total?
5.
Okay. And but the mother church, for lack of a better term, is out in Utica?
Yeah, that's where we started.
So where are the campuses?
Yeah, where are they all?
We have one in Albany.
Okay.
We have one here in Syracuse. That's our newest one. We have one in Rome. You're familiar with?
Yes, of course.
You worked there, and another one in Utica as well.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And then do you pastor to all of them? Well, we got Josh here.
Yeah.
He told me he owns this one. I don't understand. I don't know what he's talking about.
No, I'm the lead pastor. That's what we'd call me. So
yeah. So and does that mean that you do the sermon or whatever? What would you call it?
Most of the time I'm doing the preaching, but we share the preaching load.
Yeah, and in Syracuse they rotate. Okay, which is fun because I love Mike. But, sometimes it's nice to listen to somebody else. And,
we got a bunch of talent, really, when I say talented.
Gifted, better term.
Yeah.
They communicate at a different level. If Pastor Sam has a different way to communicate than Dr. Mike Webster, for example.
Absolutely.
Or Mike or Mark Schilling. And so there's a variety to it. And
do you guys all have to get together and talk about, lay out a strategy, what we're going to talk about each week and all that?
Our church, what we typically do is we say preaching for the Bible, obviously, but you could do topical messages, right? But what we do is we usually take a passage of scripture,
right,
and then we say this is going to be our passage of scripture that we are going to deal with this week, and here are the themes, and so we give some liberality and how someone approaches it.
They're not reading a sermon. If this is the text, go with some frame.
Right, here's a framework, and this is what we do.
Good. So. Well, I have some, actually a bunch of other questions. So would you stick around for a little bit?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Great. And then we'll let Steve ask some questions too. Why do you let him into the church? It shows how open-minded you guys are. We're going to come right back, so stick around. We're talking with Mike Cervello. He's the senior pastor at Redeemer Church, and you are listening to The Local Show. Stick around. We're coming right back.
Welcome back to The Local Show, a service of Gettys Federal Savings and Loan and Safe Harbor Wills and Trusts. The Local Show, featuring conversations with business owners, employees, and local business leaders about their successes, challenges, and reasons for doing business right here in Central New York. The Local Show, locally produced by Zoey Advertising. Now, here are your hosts, Tom and Steve.
It's a wonderful weekend, and we're happy that you're spending a little time with us on this Easter weekend. It's the local show with Tom and Steve. We've been talking with Mike Cervello. He's the senior pastor at Redeemer Church out of Utica, but they have 5 campuses, right? 5 total. Yep. And there's one here in Syracuse. You might have heard Pastor Josh here on the show before. And we've been talking all about what the church is about and how it relates to Easter and all that. What role does music play? You know, a lot of times I get very inspired around Easter and Christmas when I listen to some great gospel music. What kind of role does it play in your church?
Music is a big part of our services, you know, our church services, and it's meant to lead people with their emotions to give God praise.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have great music in our church,
and all the churches, right?
Yeah.
So you have bands and things like that.
Yeah, I was down at Times Square Church in New York City.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember you telling me
a few months ago. Yeah. Okay. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I haven't been there in years.
You walk in, you're like, I don't want to leave.
Yeah.
And you really sense the presence of God in the worship and in the music, in the gifts that people are, just gifted people, multicultural. That's really, I love. It's just a rainbow of colors. Yeah. I love all the people there. So that's my church when I'm in New York City.
It's a good church.
What does Easter mean to to a Christian?
Easter is everything. I think of, if in the scriptures, 1 Corinthians 15 is probably the, I don't know what you call it, classic or scripture verse that we would look to talk about the importance of Easter or the resurrection. And Paul says, if there is no resurrection, then our faith is in vain. And so we have nothing to celebrate. So the resurrection is the hinge on which all of Christianity turns. I mean, it's the foundation.
Yeah. Some people who look outside of the Christianity and look into Christianity might say that Christmas was the birth of Christ. But you're saying more the resurrection is what it's about.
Oh yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, the birth of Christ, the virgin birth of Christ is important to Christianity. But it's important for people to understand that Christianity is not just simply a philosophy. It's not just simply a good teaching. Christianity is about a person, and his name is Jesus. And Jesus really did live. Okay, he's a real historical person. He really did die, and he really did rise from the dead. And so just if people think about that for a minute, I think in America we understand, well, Easter, people are going to church. Right. There's the resurrection. But just think about for a moment the significance of the resurrection. If the resurrection took place, and it did, and we could talk about that, why I would say that with such certainty. If the resurrection happened, then that is infinite hope for humanity. It's infinite hope for humanity. I'm a Sting fan. Are you guys Sting fans?
Yeah.
I don't love Sting, believe it or not. But
I was going to say he doesn't.
But he's a great musician. He really is. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I love Sting. It's hard for me to believe that he's in his 70s. That makes me feel old.
Right.
Now referred to as dull.
That guy.
Yeah.
But Sting wrote a country western song. Many people don't know.
Oh no, I didn't know that.
They probably know the song I'm about to reference as being sung by Johnny Cash, and it's called "I Hung My Head."
Oh yeah.
Okay, do you know that song
I do.
by Johnny Cash?
Yeah, sure.
There's this one line in that song that I always think of at Easter. If you know the story, it's kind of told as a story. It's kind of, I don't know what they call that type of song.
Yeah.
But the guy borrows Jeb's rifle and he's kind of following a lone rider, and then the gun goes off in his hand.
Sting wrote that?
Sting wrote that.
I know the song Johnny Cash. I know the song by Johnny Cash.
Yeah, Sting wrote that. And obviously this guy accidentally killed somebody. But then he says these words. He says, "I felt the power of death over life." And when I hear that, that's such a profound line, because death has a power. One of the things that I do as a pastor is I show up at hospitals, and I've been there when people have died. I've been there to hear the cries and the groans from family members. Maybe it's a young person, maybe it's an older person, even in their 90s, but the groans of death and that power as you see it begin to come on a life, it's a powerful, powerful thing. And I don't know when you have experienced that or anybody has experienced, but you understand that power.
Yes.
But see, on Easter Sunday, when we come together, what we celebrate is a power that is infinitely greater, and that is the power of life over death. And see, when Jesus Christ walked out of that grave, he destroyed death. He was victorious over it. And so we say, that day, I feel the power of life over death. And that's my hope. My hope is in the resurrection of Christ for a lot of different reasons. But if Christ has risen from the dead, that means I will rise from the dead, even though I may die, and I will die if Christ doesn't come back by then. But So it's important.
So how does that translate to someone today that maybe says, "Oh yeah, I kind of believe that"? What's the difference between that and the step that you took when you were 14 years old?
Well, this is the way they'll answer that, Steve. The Apostle Paul. Many people know who the Apostle Paul was. He was a very brilliant guy. He wrote most of the New Testament. With the inspiration of the Holy Spirit, but when he was doing his speaking to different places, one of his great opportunities was he was invited to go speak at Mars Hill in Athens. Historically, Mars Hill was the place where all of the Greek philosophers would meet, like, the Epicureans and the Stoics. And it wasn't just simply like an open mic night at a coffee house. You had to be invited.
Okay.
And they invited Paul to stand up there and speak. And I love this scene because it's like a lot like America, I think, today. It's very, what do you call it?
Ecumenical?
Ecumenical.
Which is like everything's okay, whatever.
Everything's
that kind of
okay. Because the Romans were considered themselves very educated because they had conquered a lot of land.
Enlightened.
Things like that.
They felt they were very enlightened.
Yeah. So Paul, who had walked around the city of Athens, had seen all their temples from different places or altars to gods from places they had conquered.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. But Paul saw one altar that was to an unknown god. And what that was is the Romans saying, hey, we understand something. We don't know all the gods that are out there, but we know that there's a God. There is other gods out there. In case we missed one. Yeah. So Paul gets up at Mars Hill and his speech goes something like this. He says, men of Athens, I perceive you're very religious. I applaud you for that. Let me tell you who that unknown God is. He's the God who created the heavens and the earth. He's the God who determines the times and the seasons. He determines when nations rise and when nations fall. And but then he gets bold, and he says these words to all those people. He says, "In the past, God overlooked your ignorance," and kind of startling there because you got to think this is Mars Hill.
Right.
These are philosophers. These are where Plato has come from. If anybody has ever read Plato, Plato was amazing. And he says, in the past, God has overlooked your ignorance. He says, but now God commands everyone, everywhere, to repent, because he has appointed a day where he will judge the world in righteousness, and he's proven this by raising his son, Jesus Christ, from the dead. So the resurrection of Christ, it says something to all of us. It's not just a philosophy. Again, it's not just a teaching. It's about a real person who really did live, really did die. And God comes and he says to us, will you accept this gift? And the gift is that he will forgive all of your sins. He will give you his own righteousness just simply by saying, I believe in the gift that was given. See, the resurrection, and put it in just terms as that, the resurrection is the receipt that God has accepted payment on your behalf for your sin.
Wow. So happy Easter, Mike.
Yes.
Cervello.
Happy Easter to you as
Senior
well.
pastor, Redeemer Church in Syracuse is located across from Nottingham High School. Services at Sundays at 10 o'clock.
Absolutely.
And you got to dress. You got to wear a suit, or can you come as you are?
You come as you are. I don't think anybody wears suits.
I don't think
anymore.
anybody owns a suit there, Tom.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Well, Mike, you have a great rest of the day and enjoy the rest of the holiday.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me on.
You got it. Well, we're going to be coming back to hour number 2 of the local show. So get ready for engaging interviews with Jimmer Soccocio, franchise owner and operator of Chick-fil-A in Cicero and Clay, New York. And then Dr. Nicole Lanzalone, owner of Syracuse Hearing Solutions. Attorney John Murphy stops by, owner of Safe Harbor Wills and Trusts. And then finally, Dave Martin is the builder and owner of Martin Custom Homes, all in hour number 2 on the local show on 570 WSYR.
It's The Local Show on News Radio 570 WSYR, a service of Safe Harbor Wills and Trusts and Gettys Federal Savings and Loan. The Local Show, featuring conversations with business owners, employees, and local business leaders about their successes, challenges, and reasons for doing business right here in Central New York. The Local Show is locally produced by Zoey Advertising. Now, your hosts, Tom and Steve.
Welcome back and welcome in. This is hour number 2 of The Local Show. Get ready for engaging interviews with, we have a fill-in for Jimmer Soccocio. I mentioned him earlier, but it turns out that he sent his number 1, and that would be Ike Jarvis. Okay. And Ike runs the clay store, but he's all over the place. We'll talk with him, and then Nicole Anzalone comes by, Dr. Nicole. She's the owner of Syracuse Hearing Solutions. Attorney John Murphy is the owner of Safe Harbor Wills and Trusts. And finally, Dave Martin is a builder and owner of Martin Custom Homes. And we'll talk with him in the last segment right there. And now we say a hearty, healthy hello to Ike. How are you, buddy?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. We were just saying off the air that I haven't seen you since Christmas. And you know what? You don't look a day older.
So appreciate it. Right back at you.
We had the dancing cow going.
That's right. Well, Tom, he has pushed these milkshakes from Chick-fil-A.
Oh, yeah, I know.
So
I'm on you.
Since I've stopped seeing you with the milkshakes, we still come. I've lost 600 pounds, so thank you.
Wow.
I appreciate it. So how did you get connected with Chick-fil-A? What's your story? How'd that happen?
Yeah, Chick-fil-A had came to the upstate New York area around 2018. And I had some family members who had gotten hired really early on. And actually, I worked across the street. So I saw the building being put up and everything and just became really interested. And then one day I went over and met with Jimmer. We talked for a little while, and I was hired right then.
Did you know prior to going in there that they had a different culture than, say, another fast food place?
I did. I had an idea, but I didn't have a full understanding of it at that time now. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
when you got there, were you shocked, or were you like, man, I don't know if I can do this? Maybe I'm not squeaky clean enough, or what?
No, I don't think so. No. Starting from my very first shift, I can remember it like it was yesterday up until now. I've honestly felt the same way. It's just been an incredible atmosphere, environment, and honestly, not really considered. It's a job, but some could not consider it that way just because of how amazing it is.
Right. Yeah. Are the people that you started working with, are they still there? There's some of them?
Maybe a handful.
Okay.
Yeah, the staff looks very, very different from day one.
How many people work between the two restaurants? How many people are on the team?
I think between the two, there's probably somewhere between 200 and 260.
Wow, that's really respectable. Yeah. And do you continually add people, are you real selective?
Yeah, we're always, like we've said, we're always looking for remarkable people. So we're always making additions to our team. Just a bunch of different things that need to get done. We're always hiring.
Are you a manager, or what is your exact role?
Yeah, my title is a manager. Yep. So I like we talked about, oversee some of the community aspects and marketing, things like that. And then more recently, operations manager, store manager.
Okay.
So how do you not weigh like 700 pounds because the Chick-fil-A is so tasty?
Yeah. I don't have an answer to that.
Yeah. Good metabolism.
I don't know. Yeah. I think that might be the only answer, honestly.
Do people eat different things in the spring? So Easter's here and everything.
Is any new menu items?
Yeah, what happens now versus winter or summer?
Yeah, right now we actually recently just released our new springtime/summertime beverage. It's a watermelon mint tea and lemonade, or a ice cream beverage. Super good. I know that our peach shake should make a return around summertime. We did have some special salads or things like that that were on the way out, but due to some supply issues, we're gonna go with the kale side. So that's a really good one.
That doesn't sound good.
Yeah.
Tom, you a kale guy?
I'm not a big kale guy, but if you dress it up good for me,
it is good. It's real good.
But I've never had anything that I didn't like at Chick-fil-A. So you say kale, I kind of go, really? But
right.
What are some of the most popular items? What do people like come in for? Like the most?
The mac and cheese is really popular. People love that. I love it. Really good. And then again, of course, the Chick-fil-A sandwich, a classic, an original. People are always ordering that. But Yeah, people have all kinds of different favorites, from the nuggets, sandwiches, mac and cheese, you name it. They're there for it.
The Cicero restaurant was the first one to go online and get people going. Do you feel that Clay has caught up to it as far as volume, or you probably know the numbers?
Yeah, the restaurants are certainly different in volume to this day, and they're not the same. They're similar, but not the same. But yeah, I don't think that.
Does the catering go through one of the restaurants or both of them? How does that? Explain the catering.
Yeah, that whole catering aspect.
We cater to our surrounding businesses and so on. So catering goes through both restaurants independently, and sometimes in Clay we're making a delivery to Syracuse, where Cicero is closer to Syracuse, but. It just depends on who's ordering it and, all that. But yeah, catering goes through both, and it's not specific to either or restaurant.
Now, catering took a dive during the COVID, times when COVID was really bad,
right?
And companies weren't ordering and everything. Have you seen it pick back up? Has it picked up and springboarded?
Absolutely, yeah. Our catering business is a huge part of our overall business and our success. Catering, we do really, really well in catering.
That's excellent. Yeah. Well, coming up here in May is the graduation season.
There you go.
You get a lot of graduation parties. Can people still get on the list to have a caterer?
Absolutely. We're taking catering orders for whoever, whenever, however big the party is. Just give us a call and we'll make it happen.
Yeah. Some people, even with the backyard wedding receptions and things like that, they like that because they're super fans. Because usually people who go to, your restaurants, to Chick-fil-A, they're super fans. They're not just like, I'll grab a hamburger now and then. They make it a thing.
Yeah,
whole families.
I can't, as I get spoiled, I can't stop at McDonald's or those types of places. If I'm going to get something on the run,
it's got to be.
You guys get my $10. Because it just tastes
it's
better.
Different.
And how about the breakfast?
Yeah.
The breakfasts are. People don't know Chick-fil-A as being the breakfast place.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any new items or anything, or do you just want to touch on the breakfast?
Yeah, no new items in particular, but the breakfast, Chick-fil-A breakfast is a must-have in my opinion. For me, it's always going to be like a Chick-fil-A biscuit. It's just really super good buttered biscuit with a smaller piece of filet right in the middle.
Yeah, those on YouTube, if you can see Ike right now, you can see his eyes, his mouth are watering. You stuffed in that wow.
Yeah. I'm actually thinking about it right now.
I can see that. I like the bowls.
The breakfast bowls are. Really
I didn't know you had breakfast bowls.
Yeah. So there's a bowl or a burrito, and it's got chicken, scrambled eggs, hash browns, cheese.
All good for protein right there.
It's all scrambled into this bowl.
Yeah.
Incredible. And there's times when I'm, in the middle of the day or go on break, grab some lunch, and I'm wishing that I could order breakfast.
So you don't have breakfast 24?
We don't. Our breakfast is served from 6:30 up until 10:30 a.m.
So you split yourself between the restaurant in Clay on Route 31 in Cicero? Are you at both of them? Seems like I've seen you at both of them.
Yeah, I've certainly been at both of them. More recently, Clay. My focus has been in the Clay restaurant since the start of this year. Yes, sir.
And just so people know exactly where it is, it's in front of Raymore and Flanagan.
It is.
In the same parking lot and all that. Always an easy ride through the drive-through.
Yep.
You get through nice and quick. So if anybody's ever wondering, go ahead and do that. And you can talk to Ike, and Ike's usually around, and you're just such a nice guy too. The customers, though, when I'm doing an event over there, they gravitate toward him. It's like he's an old friend.
Yes.
Like
I like Ike.
Yeah, I like him too. That's good. Why don't you stick around? I'm looking for a co-host.
Hey, wait a minute.
All right. Thank you so much, and you have a great rest of the day, Ike.
My pleasure. You as well.
Awesome. Coming up next, Dr. Nicole Anzalone, owner of Syracuse Hearing Solutions, right here on the local show on 570 WSYR. Stick around.
Welcome back to The Local Show, a service of Safe Harbor Wills and Trusts and Geddes Federal Savings and Loan. The Local Show, featuring conversations with business owners, employees, and local business leaders about their successes, challenges, and reasons for doing business right here in Central New York. The Local Show, locally produced by Zoey Advertising. Now, here are your hosts, Tom and Steve.
All right, we're back again, and that means you are too. Thank you for joining us on this happy spring weekend. And it is a springy, happy weekend, right?
It is.
Can you believe Easter's here already?
I know. Do we sound like our parents, Tom?
Yeah, it's probably.
Remember, like time, when you get older, time zips by, all these things.
All those things.
And, but I think they're true.
Yeah, well, it goes by fast, and then you start to cherish every little moment.
I mean, you know how much I hate the winter.
I do.
Yes. But it's gone.
Yeah,
I'm
really
so excited. And I think we appreciate spring and summer and fall way more because winter's.
Yeah. And next week, I think I'm going to be here by myself or with Greg. Because you're going to go take another vacation. This is
the last
what was it,
Tom,
17 vacations
Tom,
so far?
I was working.
Do we have a cap, like 20?
I was working. It just happened to be in Florida. I went I was at a marketing advertising
You barely
conference.
work here now.
Well, I barely worked there. No, I went to I learned some things, how to treat co-hosts.
Sure. Well, that's good. You'll be cruising this time?
Yep, we are going to do a little cruise.
Okay, good.
So hit the islands. I bring my snorkel mask. I just like to swim with the fishes.
Where do you go? Where do you want to go?
We're hitting some different islands.
Is it like the Caribbean type stuff?
Caribbean.
Oh, yeah.
They're all kind of the sea. Get off. There's a beach.
Yeah.
You hang out at the beach. You get back on. You eat some more, and then you get on. It happens. A few different islands.
I know my buddy Greg, and of course maybe we'll talk about it on the show. He's going on a cruise, but he's going to do France. He's going down the. What do you call that? French
Riviera?
Yeah, something like that, or
the French River.
Yeah, that river. I forget it because I'm not well traveled.
Yeah, no, I like to swim and put my mask on, and I love swimming in the ocean because you can just see all kinds of things. And
that's great. So, yeah, I have a bunch of family members that help people go swimming with the fishes.
I was waiting for that. You didn't let it go.
They go swimming with the fishes. Dr. Nicole Anzalone is here. She's the owner of Syracuse Hearing Solutions. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, hanging right in there. How are your earlids going? People been buying earlids from you?
Yeah. So especially during the better weather, people want to protect their hearing. Their lawnmowers are going, all those power tools are building stuff again. So it's a good time to protect your ears.
Explain quickly what earlids are in case someone missed that.
So earlids are little hearing protection. So they're custom earplugs made for your ears so that they're comfortable. They don't slip out. You can wear them for all sorts of things to protect your hearing.
Okay. Yeah. And you custom make them.
Yes, we make them in-house.
You got cool colors.
Yeah, glitters. Like any color of the rainbow. You can mix and match and swirl and marbleize and do a lot of fun stuff.
No, we haven't talked about your locations in a while. I was just telling you, I'm seeing Dr. Joseph Barry now, and he's just down the road from you out in Camillus of your one office, right? You're just up the road. And you have another office as well. Yeah,
so I just opened my second office in Fayetteville in mid-January. So things are going well. It's nice to be on both sides of town just for convenience. A lot of my patients asked, hey, when are you going to move on the east side of town? So it's nice because it's even closer to home.
So, right. Yeah, you live out that way. That's
yeah.
So, out at the home show a few weeks ago, Tom, we did the show live there, and we were there for the weekend. Dozens of people came up to, so many of them were like, we listen to the show, that's great. But then they also said, and Dr. Anzalone. So we heard all these nice things about you. The question is, are they true?
I hope so. Yeah.
Well, when you think about it, who wants to go get their hearing checked?
No one. Yes, it's really hard to get someone to get their hearing checked.
It's usually out of crisis that they come, right?
Yes. Yeah. The families harass them all the time saying, you've been saying what a lot. You got to go get your ears checked. You need hearing aids. So it's a point of contention with a lot of families and frustrating to say the least. But people, I guess, like to come to us. That's a good thing.
Well, I think no one feels pressured. And that's what I heard. It isn't like, okay, we've got them now.
No.
Let's start. Let's find out if there's a challenge. Maybe it's just earwax. You shared that a few weeks ago, or whatever. But people were, they felt like they got to know you.
Talk about your suite of services. What would somebody typically come in for, and where would you take them? What path would you take them down? Can you talk about that or?
Yeah, there's a lot of paths. So we do everything ear related. So from hearing testing, diagnostics to earwax removal to hearing protection to balance testing. So it's all ear related. And depending on what people tell us, we try to get to know the patients, what their needs are, what their history is, what their concerns are about their ears or their balance, their hearing or their balance. And then we go from there in terms of treatment. You know, the important thing is to make sure the patient is treated based on what they need. Whether or not it's hearing difficulties, family frustrations because they're not hearing the television, they're not hearing over the phone. It's also a safety concern as well. And, protecting your hearing so you prevent hearing loss, that's important too, because once it starts going, it's going. There's no going back. And it could also affect cognition. We know all sorts of research on how hearing loss affects, neural degeneration and, cognitive memory loss and things like that. So it's very important to treat right away and don't hold off. So we're trying to get the word out. So it's not too late to do something about it.
When we talk about the technology changing, we were chatting the other day and you were like, oh, someone had like 4 or 5 year old hearings. Oh, they're so old. Things have changed so much. So how have they changed? If someone hasn't experienced the latest and greatest, what's changed in the last 4 or 5 years in respects to being able to help people hear?
Yeah, so think about computers. The hearing aids are like little computers now. So they could process speech, process noise, and separate the two so that you could hear better. It gives you more support and background noise. I mean, that's the biggest complaint with hearing loss is hearing and understanding and noise. So they've gotten better in terms of the sound quality. I mean, I listen to some old ones of some patients and new ones, and I'm like, whoa, you need some new ones. These sound completely different and so much better. But of course I have, normal hearing, so it's different for me. But, in terms of what they connect to, being in constant communication with your devices, your phone, your television, your family, they do so much in such a little package now. And they sound so much better and they give so much more support so that people could hear better. We have a lot more flexibility in what we could do to fit the patient. I mean, when you're dealing with damaged ears, they're different. It's not like headphones for everyone. It's not going to sound the same. So you have to adjust the devices to that damaged ear to make sure they hear the best they can. And that's what we tried to do, and that's what we're good at.
Has AI worked its way into the modern,
Yeah, artificial intelligence. Yes. So what's coming down the pike, and there's a lot of talk of it, is recognizing familiar voices. So the hearing aids can sample the sound environment through the microphones, and then learn a familiar voice. So like your spouse who's standing next to you, walking next to you. Something. And speaking, so it can enhance those sounds
or
over some other
it.
sounds. Or block it, yeah. You have that choice with your cell phone. It's like a little remote control. If you don't want to hear the guy next to you, Steve next to you, Tom.
Hey.
You don't want to hear the Steve next to you. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. You could kind of pick and choose where the microphones point at a particular person in space.
And I imagine the filtering has gotten so much better. Adobe has a filter, a podcast filter. If I take a noisy room, I'm talking like with traffic right behind you, and you put it into this app, it filters it out with no artifacting whatsoever, and you can have just a beautifully isolated voice and get rid of all the background noise.
Right.
So that's where things are probably going in that world too. And
extreme noise cancellation.
Yeah,
it's funny though, because some people don't like that. They feel kind of like plugged in, blocked out.
You want to hear some of that. You
need some ambient sounds to seem more
Tom wants to
natural.
hear me.
I love to hear. That's going to wrap things up with her. Hey, Dr. Anzalone, thank you so much for coming by and all you do.
Oh, thank you.
All right.
Thank you for having me.
You have a great rest of the day.
You too.
All right. Coming up next, we're going to be talking with attorney John Murphy, the owner of Safe Harbor Wills and Trusts. Stick around for that gripping interview next on The Local Show on 570 WSYR.
Welcome back to The Local Show, a service of Safe Harbor Wills and Trusts and Gettys Federal Savings and Loan. The Local Show, featuring conversations with business owners, employees, and local business leaders about their successes, challenges, and reasons for doing business right here in Central New York. The Local Show, locally produced by Zoey Advertising. Now, here are your hosts, Tom and Steve.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's great to spend some quality time with you on this weekend. You're listening to The Local Show with Tom and Steve. I'm Tom Soccocio Jr., the creative director when I show up here at Zoey Advertising, and then Steve Roberts is the owner of Zoey Advertising, and we bring you this thing called The Local Show. You know, somebody who's really supported the show since the beginning has been Safe Harbor Wills and Trusts. So I thought we would do some happy talk on them, but he's here.
Yeah,
so we might as well all get happy together.
Yeah. Is Steve the owner even if he doesn't show up?
Yeah, he can still be the owner.
Yeah, no.
That's really Lori.
Right. So the show's been going 4 years here.
Yeah.
And John was somewhat of an early adopter. And,
right.
And I think the longer it went on, people got to know. I mean, who wants to know an attorney unless you have to know an attorney? Let's be honest.
True. Yeah, absolutely.
Let's be honest. So you hear this guy and you hear him talking in the opportunities to help protect the home and life savings.
Right.
You know, and over time, I think trust is earned, and your business has certainly been growing in the last few years, and you'll be able to help more people. Why don't you tell people, if they haven't heard you, how'd you get rolling in this estate planning law firm?
Well, I used to do a little bit of everything, house closings and family court and divorces and traffic tickets and, criminal trials and whatever brought the money in and kept the lights on, right? Yeah. And then I was asked to help my wife's grandmother, make a long story short, get on Medicaid. And I said, sure, I can do that. How tough can that be? And I totally flopped. I was in over my head. I didn't even know I was, there's sometimes that the questions to ask. I didn't even know the questions to ask. And so I had to really humble myself, and it really was humbling, not just professionally, but also personally. I had to tell my wife's family, my family, right, that I couldn't help. And we had to find somebody who knew what they were doing. And it was a time for me for a change, a lot of reasons going on. 9/11 had just happened.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
It's just a good time to make a change. But I was the sole support for 6 people. My youngest son was recommended medically that he not go to daycare. He'd had a couple complications at birth. Turned out fine. But you always take those things to heart.
Sure.
And so my wife stayed home. Wound up 10 years she stayed home just because it was a great gig. She was home caring for our 4 children. So I couldn't just make the break, right? But I learned everything I could about estate planning and asset protection so that I could help people not have to go through what my mother-in-law and her children and sister had to go through. And so now this is all we do. I learned very early on that you can't do Medicaid and serious estate planning as just another thing that you do.
Right.
If you want to have answers, if you want to know the questions that the people don't even know to ask, you have to do this all the time. And that's what we do.
That's fantastic. And you have quite a clientele. Everyone that I've spoken with, and we've done quite a few testimonials, and we've been to your care program, things like that, and everyone just seems to love what they hear, and they talk about it being like a family. It's almost like having a family member who's an attorney, and they are able to ask questions, and you're not nickel and diming them for every single question that they're asking because you have that long-term program.
And Tom mentioned the care program. You want to explain what that is?
Yeah, so we run on relationship-based clientele, not transactional.
Yeah.
We don't want you in and out the door, and we never see you again, right? An estate plan's like your car, your furnace, your roof. You got to keep it up to date to make sure it works. So we have a care program. People re-enroll annually. We have, I think, 350 families in it currently. And sometimes people wonder what the value is. They see it when they meet with me or Michelle, my other attorney, and get our annual updates and things. But I'll give you an example. So we had a client recently lost a spouse. They were very early adapters of Safe Harbor Wills and Trusts. And he was in Ohio getting ready to do the burial. That's where his spouse is from. And he called Marie, who runs my office for me. Said, Marie, I know we have a life insurance policy. I have no information with me. Can you help me find it? Okay. And so Marie got into the file online. We have a thing we call Asset Alignment Tracker. We keep track of all your assets, the values, where they are, the account numbers. We're able to turn that over. He's able to get that information over to the funeral home, and boom, he was all set, right? I don't know any other law offices you can call and do that.
Right.
And then he came in to see us, what's the next steps, things like that. And at one of our events. We have 2 events for our care client members each year, one here in Syracuse and one at the Clayton Harbor Hotel because of Watertown office up there. But everybody's invited to both of them. And he told us a story because at one time, at one of the events, we decided to hire a portrait photographer for our care clients. And they took portraits of them, and we gave them a nice silver frame.
I remember that.
Yep. And so he told us that the picture that the photographer had captured was so good that's the picture they used for his spouse's obituary and at the funeral. And it just, he will always remember his spouse in that way, in that moment that was captured. And the best thing about great moments for people is you don't know when they're happening. Right?
It's true.
This happened 4 or 5 years ago. We took this photo.
Yeah.
And boom, it's there for them. And that really meant a lot to us.
Any laws changing? Anything people should particularly freak out about?
I don't know if you want to freak out, but you can compost yourself now when you pass away.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Tom,
let me ask you this: in the world of law, can you indict a former president? And no, I don't know why not. Had a bunch of trumped up charges.
Yeah, not to go one side of the political aisle or the other, but he's a citizen, right?
Yeah, that's right.
He's not accused of doing this during his presidency. So,
right?
Absolutely.
You don't get absolution by election.
That's right.
Briefly, couple mistakes people make. What have you heard of lately? Things that they think are true and that aren't.
That my power of attorney can handle my estate when I die. They can't. Power of attorney ends. Okay. When people go into nursing homes and they deal with the business manager or the social worker, a lot of times they get bad information. And because of the position that person's in, they take that to be true.
So what do you mean? Unpack that a little bit.
So we had a client. He became a client of ours. He came to one of our workshops, and his mother was in a nursing home. And he came up and talked to me briefly. He said, I sold my mom's car, and they said I have to pay that money over. And I said, no, you don't. Or, we own the house with my mom, so they said my brother and I have to pay part of the bill for my mom. Right. Because we own the house with her. I said, no, that's not true. So I think a lot of times the nursing homes do not have time to train their intake.
Well, they're not attorneys. Is that fair? I mean, they're well-intentioned social workers.
I assume that they're well-intentioned 100%.
Right. Yeah. But they're not. They wouldn't know those things.
Right.
It's fill out the paperwork. Let's get you on Medicaid or whatever to pay the nursing home bill. And
then sometimes they file too early. So it's not always the early bird gets the worm with Medicaid. There may be some things that your mom or dad have done with their money that you're not aware of, assuming your power of attorney, that could cause them to be ineligible for Medicaid for a period of time. So, at our office, we would get that fixed before we applied for Medicaid.
So if people have questions, I know you have case managers.
Yes.
So if people say, gee, what should I do or how do I do it or what can I do? Maybe a loved one is in long-term care. 370-9977 and just ask for a case manager?
Ask for a case manager. Tell them what's going on. Someone's in a nursing home. We'll be happy to walk you through the yeses and nos. And you should never apply for Medicaid until you're eligible for Medicaid. And you won't know that until you talk to an attorney.
Okay. 370-9977. And they can even put a request at safeharborwillsandtrust.com.
Yes.
They can do it that way too, Tom.
Well, thank you, John, for all that you do and all your staff does. You've helped lots and lots of people, and I know you'll be continuing to do that into the future. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Tom.
Okay. Have a great rest of the day.
You too.
All right. Coming up next, we're going to talk with Dave Martin. He's a builder and the owner of Martin Custom Homes. We'll see what's happening in that world. Coming up next on The Local Show on 570 WSYR.
Welcome back to The Local Show, a service of Safe Harbor Wills and Trusts and Gettys Federal Savings and Loan. The Local Show, featuring conversations with business owners, employees, and local business leaders about their successes, challenges, and reasons for doing business right here in Central New York. The Local Show, locally produced by Zoey Advertising. Now, here are your hosts, Tom and Steve.
Welcome back, folks, and thank you for joining us on the local show this weekend. Kind of a holiday weekend. Well, not kind of. It is. It's a holiday weekend. And that's wonderful. Hope you're having a wonderful time with your family. And once again, if you don't have sharp knives, you can bring them over to Smith's. And get them. I say that because all my knives are dull. Not only do I need a whole new set, but I think I got some good ones that he can probably,
Yeah, I got that 4-knife kit over there. It's on the magnetic board.
It's wonderful.
It's just fabulous. Threw away all the garbage. all
the other ones. Oh, we got a whole drawer. I don't even know where you put knives. I'll have to wrap them in newspaper and throw them in the trash.
I don't know. Yeah, be careful, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, because I got a lot of junky ones. Hey, it's our pleasure right now to bring on someone new to the show. His name is Dave Martin. I've seen Dave out there because, of course, I've been in that home builders industry in the marketing phase of things. So I think I've seen you guys before, but it's Dave Martin, builder and owner of Martin Custom Homes. How are you guys?
Very good. Very good.
Good. Well, it's good to meet you formally.
Thanks for having us on.
Person. Yeah. I used to do work for Comfort Windows. I was in marketing over there for a long time, and we attend all the shows and the parade of homes and all that. So I know I've met you guys before. You got wonderful homes. You've been in the parade several times.
Oh,
right?
yes. Our first parade was 2011.
Oh, yeah. That goes
and
back.
we've missed a couple, and I'll tell you, we're probably going to miss this one here. Well, not probably. We're going to miss this
no kidding.
Parade.
You a little too busy?
No. Well, that for one, okay? That's the number one reason. This year, they decided they were going to do it just a little too late for me.
Oh, okay.
And we like to have some time to plan it out and everything.
How'd you get into the business?
Oh, it's a long story.
Were you actually a builder yourself, blood and guts?
When I was 13, 14 years old, I used to.
It is a long story.
Yeah. Today's my birthday, just to let you know.
Happy birthday.
God bless you. Yeah, that's wonderful.
It's been a long story, but 60 years ago or better. But anyway, when I was young, I used to help my uncle. We do concrete work. He was, he was good with the blocks, and patios were, patio blocks just came in. I used to mix all the concrete. Wow. I used to work my butt off. Okay.
Sure.
And, as time went by and in high school, I worked at a service station. And then, at times I'd be working with a builder there that was building his house. And then in the summertime, I worked on duplexes over in the Albany area. I'm from the Albany.
I was just going to ask you from.
I did a lot of work then. Okay, and went to school for electrical. Okay,
very nice.
And then got out of it and went into the grocery side.
Okay,
no kidding.
And I did 20 years with PNC.
Oh wow, okay.
And used to.
Is that what brought you here to Syracuse?
They got a few promotions and everything, and. They moved me to Ithaca, and 6 months later, they moved me to Syracuse. The whole family.
Sure.
I ran the in-store bakeries for New York and New England.
Yeah. And they had a big presence here.
I don't get this size from nothing.
Right. I remember Claude and Cotto.
Claude, he was a great guy. I've got a picture hanging in my wall of Claude when the Syracuse harness races used to be over here at the Miracle Mile, and I was standing there with my wife, and Claude was there, and he says, I've got a horse running today, and he says, it's going to win. Mm-hmm. He says, I don't want to go over in the winner's circle by myself. He says, come on over with me. And this is after I had left PNC 6 or 7 years prior to that.
Yeah.
Did you leave to start? His horse won. I won myself $200-300.
There you go. Nice.
Okay, and it was a good day. And
so, did you leave to start the home building business?
No, actually, when Penn Traffic and PNC were, starting to have some problems, I seen the writing on the wall.
Right.
And, I was one of the first that, of the higher ups that would take and decided to leave the company.
Yeah.
And I started another business. I actually went into business with my stepfather. It was a legal services business, and ran that even while we were doing this. Okay.
Yes, you started to build.
So why?
Andy went to school for construction.
Okay.
And we had always, while I was with PNC, I did decks and sheds.
Right.
And
you were always
garages
handy.
And,
you were always handy.
constantly going. And when Andy, I'd turn around and, I'd fall over him because he'd be right with me. There's nothing more that he liked to.
Andy's your son, just so we let people know.
Andy's my son.
Andy's your son.
In fact, he's running the company now.
Okay,
he's the guy
great.
that's in charge of the company and has been for the past few years.
Okay.
But yeah, so, he was always working alongside me, and, we had a great time doing it for a lot of years. And,
right.
He worked for me in the legal services business, and then we turned around and he started dinging me, to go into the home building business.
So when did the ding hit? What year did you start?
I'm trying to think. It was probably around, I don't know, 1999, 2000, something like that.
Yeah.
Just believe
it's
me.
a little over 20 years you've been.
Oh yeah,
doing
we've been doing it for 20, probably longer than that. Because we did other things on the side.
So what kind of homes do you build?
We build custom homes. Anything, we have a bunch of different designs, but it's whatever the people want. We give them ideas, and they can take one of our plans and run with it, and we can take and modify it. We do plans from scratch. If you have a dream and an idea, we can, put it all on paper.
Do you develop any areas or anything like that?
We're all over. We do a 60-mile radius of Syracuse. Okay. We're currently building like up in Riverwalk. We're building out in a development called Riverwalk's up in Clay. Okay, with Central Square Schools. It's a beautiful development. We're building out in Village Heights, which is out in Weedsport. That's another nice little development over there. And believe it or not, it's only about 16 minutes from downtown Syracuse.
Yeah. How do you do things differently than others might? Well, like what's special about you?
We take good care of our customers. Okay, we're very friendly. Our motto is we're just as friendly after the build as we are in the beginning.
That's
and
important.
I put that on everything. We're just as friendly after the build as we are in the beginning. And I want to tell you, that's half of it right there. But attention to detail. I'm a pretty anal guy.
Well, you have to be in that business. Yeah, sure.
Our electrical panels are second to none. You know what I mean? And we insist on that. We, it's all those little details that, we're pretty good at. And Andy is really great at it too.
Before we run out of time, too, I want to address that. You mentioned electric. How is Hochul ruining the home building industry? What's going to happen with all these new things?
There's plenty of opportunities out there. Believe me.
Yeah.
I mean, she's taking and. Between her and the state, legislators, they are taking and, forcing everything into electric.
Gotcha.
And there's a lot of us in the business that are really questioning, there's a lot of extra cost to that.
Oh, yeah. So
with nothing for the homeowner that we see that's a benefit other than they're trying to do something for climate change.
Right.
So if just running short on time, if someone wanted some information, I see mch-cny.com. Is that correct?
Yep, mch-cny.
And it's Martin Custom Homes. Thank you for coming, Dave, and thank you, Andy, for joining us in behind the scenes here with that stupid Boston Red Sox.
We'll send your people, some people your way, and then we'll have you on again so we can have another conversation.
Very good. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You got it. All right, Steve, that's going to wrap up this holiday edition of the local show.
Happy Easter, Tom.
Happy Easter. And on behalf of Tom and Steve and the entire Zoey team, God bless you and your families. Take today and every day and have a walk. A nice long walk, and that keeps the weight down and the mind clear. The local show is heard every Saturday morning from 11 to 1, and then again on Sunday morning from 7 to 9. Listen together with a friend. Until next week, get down to business and keep doing business locally. Tell your friends about the local show right here on 570 WSYR, 106.9 FM, the iHeartRadio app, and on YouTube at Zoey Advertising 3809.